Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our global panel on the future of the digital economy, proudly hosted by Metaterra and Nearest University. It's a real pleasure to see so many of you here today to explore how technology is reshaping global finance and the way we think about value, trust, and connectivity in the digital era. Today's discussion will take us through some of the most exciting and complex topics in our field, from how blockchain is transforming traditional finance, global finance, to the opportunities in emerging markets, and the balance between innovation and regulation, and the evolution of tokenization and payments of the future. And of course, we will look how Northern Cyprus can play a unique role as a hub for young crypto leadership, connecting new ideas with global experience. We are joined by an exceptional group of speakers who bring perspectives from across finance, technology, and investment. And I'm truly honored to moderate this session. And lastly, we are deeply honored to have the President of the Northern Cyprus with us today. Thank you, Mr. President, for joining us, supporting this important discussion. Thank you. Let's begin. And first, I would like to call the speakers. As a first speaker, I would like to call Paul Randall. Please, Paul, to the stage. Douglas Anderson. John Bayer. Hakan Tören. And Fernando Ildasola. So let's start with introductions. I'm Serhat. I've been working in management consulting industry for the past 25 years. I have worked for consulting companies like Deloitte, PricewaterhouseCoopers. Hello. And now I have my own management consulting firm, everyone, specialized in global fintechs and finance and banking economy industries, and I'm providing consultants and Nearest University to many clients. It's a real pleasure to see so many. I'm also a board member to explore how technology is reshaping of the global finance and the way we think about value, trust, and connectivity in the digital. Also, I'm a board member in an intermediate. Today's discussion will take us through some of the most exciting licensed by the central bank and complex topics in our field. And from how blockchain is transforming to traditional finance, global finance, specialized to the opportunities in emerging markets, and the balance between innovation and regulation, and the evolution of tokenization and payments of the future. First, I would like to start. And of course, we will look. Paul is the former CEO of Credit Play, a global unique role as a hub for young crypto leadership, and with more than 4 decades of experience in credit and data analytics. Paul has helped. We are joined by an exceptional lending system speakers who bring markets perspectives from across finance, technology, and investment. And Paul, actually, I'm truly honored to moderate this session about your journey so far. And lastly, we are deeply honored to have the president of the Northern Cyprus with us today. Thank you, Mr. President, for joining us. Also, for the Turkish translation, translator headphones are up there, I believe. They just told me. So if you need Turkish translation, I would like to call the speakers. You may use those as a first speaker. Please, Paul, continue. I would like to call Paul Randall. Please, Paul.
I am really happy to join us today. I think my journey has been working with banks and financial institutions, but also
Douglas
with
Anderson.
governments to make sure that the ecosystem in each of the markets is working effectively, and individuals and businesses that want to have access to credit can have that access to credit. And I think it's such a fundamental part of each market and economy to make sure that we have the correct flow of money. So it's something that I've really been proud to work with, to give, at the end of the day, the potential for growth of economies, the potential for individuals and businesses to expand their work by having that access to credit. And so I see this as the new step, and we'll talk about it a little bit more in a moment.
Thank you, Paul. So our next speaker is Douglas. He's the founder and CEO of Wall Street Capital Partners, and with an extensive experience in corporate finance, ventures, and investment strategy. He has advised and led companies across multiple sectors for over 2 decades, and brings a wealth of insight of how innovation and financial structure can come together in the digital economy. Douglas, if you can give some info about yourself. Thank you.
Teşekkür ederim. Türkçe öğrenmek lazım. So, çok seviyor. Türkiye çok seviyor. Kıbrıs. Çok teşekkür ederim, Mr. President. I'm not only here because of these great gentlemen here, but it's nice to do business in a great country and in a great growth environment, and that's what we see in this region.
So let's start with introductions.
Was
I'm
mentioned,
Serhat.
I've been working in a lot of different
working
sectors,
in management consulting
but this
industry
sector,
for the past 25
no
years.
doubt, is the most
I have worked for
important growth sector
companies,
right now.
consulting companies like Deloitte,
It's
PricewaterhouseCoopers,
gone
and now I
$1.5
have my own management consulting firm
2018,
specialized in
500
fintechs
billion
and
5
finance
years
and
later.
banking industries,
We're looking at
and I'm
70%
providing
year-over-year
consultancy
growth,
to many
one
clients
on Wall
in
Street
these
is
industries.
ignoring this. So
I am also a
the
board
trick
member and
is to
disciplinary
look
committee
for the
member
right
of
company
the
that's coming along
Turkish
in the
Payment
right
and
environment
E-Money Institutions
and
Association.
jump on. And that's
Also,
what
I'm a
we
board
do.
member
So
in an
I'm very happy to
international money transfer company, licensed by the Central Bank of Turkey. And so our next speaker is John Blair, startup and CEO of Longevity Capital, a company which develops advanced AI-based financial technologies, including real-time valuation systems that bring traditional and non-traditional assets. We can continue with our speakers. Blockchain economy. First, I would like to start John has had an extraordinary career leading global tech and media companies, from a global leader in wide technologies services, which was later acquired by more than 4 decades of experience in the credit and data analytics. Paul has helped building lending company that became across from the markets from United Kingdom to Kenya. John, if you can also provide. And Paul, actually, we would like to hear more from you about your journey so far. So if you provide the microphone.
The fortune, good fortune to be a small part of.
Also, for the Turkish translation, translator headphones are up there, I believe. They just told me. So if you need Turkish translation, you may use those headphones. Please, Paul, continue.
I am really happy to join us today. I think my journey has been working with banks and financial institutions, but also with governments to make sure that the ecosystem in each of the markets is working effectively, and individuals and businesses that want to have access to credit can have that access to credit. And I think it's such a fundamental part of each market and economy to make sure that we have the correct flow of money. So it's something that I've really been proud to work with, to give, at the end of the day, the potential for growth of economies, the potential for individuals and businesses to expand their work by having that access to credit. And so I see this as the new step, and we'll talk
so
about
our
it
next
a little
speaker
bit
is
more.
Hakan Tören. Thank you. He's the founder of MetaTerra blockchain and driving force behind the Miracle ecosystem, and CEO which includes Miracle Pay, Miracle Chain, and range of blockchain-based fintech and payment solutions. Ventures. Arkan has a long track record of innovation in financial technologies, having pioneered independent ATM POS system as well as personal credit insurance solutions in Turkey. Insight of how through MetaTerra he aims to breach can come traditional finance and blockchain by creating practical, scalable payment and infrastructure for global use. Hakan, please continue.
Türkçe öğrenmek lazım. So, çok seviyor Türkiye, çok seviyor
Again, welcome.
Türk.
And
Çok
thanks
teşekkür
to
ederim,
our president
Mr. President.
to honor us here today.
So,
Well,
I'm not only
you know, I
here
met
because
blockchain
of
8 years ago,
these great
and
gentlemen here,
in
but
all my
it's nice
past
to
experience
do
has been
business
dealing with
in a
fintech.
great country and in a great growth
I have a
environment.
career with
That's what we
ATMs
see
and
in
POS
this
machines in the
region.
UK and Turkey, and it was until
As
I met blockchain
was mentioned, I've been working
It's
in
when
a
it
lot of different
clicked
sectors.
to
But this
understand the
sector,
shift between Web 2
no
to
doubt,
Web 3.
is the most
And this
important
shift
growth
has been
sector
so
right now.
fast in the last years.
It's gone
It's
from
it's a
$1.5
shift
billion
that now
in
cannot be
2018
unstoppable.
to 500 billion
The
5
growth
years later.
of Web 3 will
We're
be
looking
so
at
big
70% year-over-year
that
growth, and no one
it won't
on Wall
only
Street
be
is
on the
ignoring
finance
it.
side,
So
but every single
the trick
technology.
is to look for the
will
right
shift
company
to
that's
Web
coming
3.
along in the right
And we as
environment.
MetaTerra are taking the part on the financial
That's what
side.
we're doing.
We've
So
built
I'm
payment
very happy to be
systems,
here.
credit
Thank you,
systems
Douglas.
that can adapt with transparency
So our next
globally,
speaker is
and that's what we're
John
doing
Baer,
together at
and
MetaTerra.
CEO of Longevity Capital, a
and
company
I'll
which
talk
develops
all
advanced
about that when
AI-based
I get
financial
to my-
technologies, including real-time valuation systems that bring traditional and non-traditional assets into the So our final speaker is Fernando Villosola. Has had an extraordinary He's the deputy secretary media companies is one of the legislators of Mexico, and international vice president, co-founder of Axies Group, two senior executive US-based family office and investment firm, Macau Cellular, the company that became AT&T Wireless. And please, John,
My country, I'm
also
not used to
provide some info.
speaking
Thank you.
on sitting on a chair.
Well, absolutely.
Buenos días a todos.
I've had the
Buenos días a todos. Good morning to all of you. Thank you for being here, especially having the president of your country sitting here and him taking the time to be here. I think that's the most important thing for this group that we have. I am from Mexico. I'm a legislator as we speak. My family as well comes from an entrepreneurial side. We own also several companies, and I was invited here by Mr. Douglas Anderson, which is a friend of my family, and I had the pleasure of meeting Mr. Hassan and the work he's been doing diligently on making this new technology happen. I say new technology, it's not a new technology. Blockchain has been here for quite some years. I'm basing that comment out of our country implementing blockchain. It's been difficult in a sense. There's too many barriers. I have a report prepared here, but it's too long to share with you. I
MetaTerra
could
blockchain and
comment on
driving
some
force behind
key
the Miracle
issues that
ecosystem, which
we're
includes Miracle
having
Pay, Miracle
in
Chain,
order to
and range of
implement
blockchain-based fintech and payment
cryptos
solutions.
ATMs, for example,
Arkan has a long
crypto
track
being
record
adopted
of
in
innovation
retail
in financial
shops,
technologies, having pioneered independent
blockchain
ATM
being
POS system
visible
as
in
well as personal credit
manufacturing, which
insurance
is a
solutions
very
in Turkey.
big part of our economy in Mexico.
Traditional
know,
finance
we-
and blockchain by creating
produce
practical scalable
A lot of
payment
products,
and infrastructure
we
for
call them
global
maquinadoras,
use.
or the terminology will be nearshoring, that's the
please.
economic terminology.
Continue.
But at the end of the day, I'm very pleased to be invited and have the homework to take back and
Again,
help
welcome.
and implement
And
the
thanks to
technology
our president
that
to, honor
the
us
company
here today.
MetaTerra is doing so as we speak.
You know,
I think
met
it'll be a game
blockchain
changer.
8 years
I
ago,
wish
and
to come back
in
and see
all my past experiences
your country,
with,
Cyprus, as the
dealing with
leading
fintech,
country
and,
in this technology.
I have a
I would
career with
suggest
ATMs and
to
POS
the
machines in
president of
UK,
the university
in
as
Turkey,
well
and
to start
it was
educating
until
people.
I
In
met
my country,
blockchain.
that's where it all starts, education.
It's when it clicked.
In Mexico, we don't
Understand the
have
shift
that still.
between
But there's
Web2
some
to
programs
Web3.
that are being implemented,
And this
passing through
shift
the
is being
legislation
so
as we
fast
speak,
in the last
in
years.
order to teach people
It's
the
a
new
shift
technologies
that now
the
cannot,
new
cannot be
investments
unstoppable.
and where the world is
The
going.
growth of Web3
And crypto is an
will be
accepted
so big
currency
that
asset as we speak. And not too
it
many
won't
people
only be on the
are
finance
aware of
side,
that.
but every single
I was one of
technology,
them. I could
will
speak for
shift
myself.
to Web3. And
I'm
we as
old school,
Metaterra
as we
are
say
taking
in
the
our
part
country.
on the financial side.
And
We've
I was
built
not
payment
aware of a
systems,
lot of things that even in my own country
credit systems
are
that
happening
can
until I got
adapt
this
with
report.
transparency
I
globally.
felt bad.
And that's what we're doing
And
together.
I don't
at
want you to
Metaterra.
feel the same way.
And
You're
I'll
the
talk a little bit
future.
about that when I get to
And you
my-
have to work on it. And it all starts by education,
Thank you, Aka.
financial education.
So our final speaker is Fernando
I wish
Vildosola.
you all the best. I'm
He's
open
the
for any
deputy
question.
senator
And again,
of the
thank
he's
you
one of
for
the
having me
legislators
here.
of Mexico, and international vice president, co-founder of Axies Group, a US-based fellow of Stanley investment firm. Yeah, please. Sure. Please, Mr. President.
In my country, I'm not used to speaking sitting on the chair. Buenos días a todos. Buenos días a todos. Good morning to all of you. Thank you for being here, especially
First of all,
having,
Please sit. First of all, I would like to congratulate all of you
sitting
for
here
coming to my
and
country
taking
to
the time
participate in this
I think
very,
the most important thing.
I think, important conference. So, welcome to all of you.
We have. I am from Mexico.
We are here
I'm
in the
a
Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus. We are
My
a
family
civilized
as well
country.
comes from an
We are an
entrepreneurial
independent republic
site.
supported by our
We
motherland and guaranteed
own
by our
also
Turkey.
several.
And to have here distinguished guests from the United States of America, from Mexico, senator from Mexico, it's an honor for us to welcome you in our country. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Hakan Tören for his entrepreneurship. We all know Hakan, he is a Londoner, but he's a Turk, and he's a Turkish Cypriot, Hakan Tören. And he obviously has created values. I mean, this is something for a Cypriot, something that we can boast. We can be obviously proud that a Turkish Cypriot born in London, with the experiences that he has had in London and Turkey with payment systems, as I understand. I am also from the old school, so I have some difficulties in understanding what's going on. But as a finance man, by the way, Serhat, I also worked for Pricewaterhouse in London, 1982 to 1986. So we come from the same background. I was at the London Bridge Pricewaterhouse for 4 years. So I'm a finance man, but with all these revolutions in technology, especially in digitalization, now we are inviting new systems, as I understand. New systems for payment. And these payments are worldwide. So we now have in North Cyprus our guests from the United States of America, from London and from Mexico. This is obviously a welcome development for our country, North Cyprus. And North Cyprus I describe as a rising star in the Eastern Mediterranean. We have all the laws and legislations to promote our country and our economy. And we are doing our best to be integrated into the world financial system. And I think this success, which I really welcome as a success story by Tören, is a miracle set of companies. And obviously, this is a welcome development, and I just hope that this leads to further integration and further developments in our economy and financial transactions. Obviously, with transparency, with honesty, with audits, and whatever is required, so that we can describe our success story as part of the civilized, transparent financial system, which would increase or enhance the value of the Turkish Cypriot economy. So I would like to thank you again for your participation. You are most welcome in our country, and I hope that this success story will lead to further progress so that we can increase our relationship and do further business. And I just hope that Tören family and his beautiful wife Ebru Hanım will be supporting her husband to the full extent. Thank you very much to all of you. Have a nice day. Have a nice conference.
So thank you, Mr. President. So we can proceed with the questions. And let's start with Paul. Paul, I know you are working on a groundbreaking project. No, I mean, I believe you will do the presentation later. I mean, you can give some basic info. So I know you are working on a groundbreaking project called Miracle Score. And could you tell us a bit more about the project and this Miracle Score project? And what is the timeline for the project? And we will be also interested in how this project is going to create competitiveness in credit bureaus all around the world. Thank you.
So one of the aspects of financial access to credit is that we need data and digital data to be able to assess and automate the assessment of credit. And this is have we got a ring? Feedback? Okay. Perhaps I'm too close to you. Okay. Is that better? Okay, sorry about that. So to answer the question, I think to have the access to credit, we need digitalized data. And this is an ideal situation where we have huge amounts of digitalized data in the blockchain, and if people are making transactions and have their finances there, this information should be able to, on individuals' consent, give them the possibility of demonstrating digital trust to somebody who wants to lend money. And so our aim is to be able to encapsulate any individual's transaction history and their value into a measure of trust, and the measure of trust is normally a credit score. And so this is the process that we're working on, to be able to have people, particularly those people who've got a large amount of their financial transactions in the blockchain, the potential to have an indication of trust encapsulated in the credit score. And so we're working on this project at the moment. We're looking to have a beta project, a beta score early next year, which we will pilot, we will enhance, we will go through a number of stages and really be able to then roll it out on a larger scale in the middle of next year, to be able to work with financial institutions who can then lend money to individuals, whether that be buy now, pay later, or other types of credit, And not only that, but also if someone wants to rent a car, for instance, it's an indication of trust that this person is a sound financial situation. So that's the project we're working on. Obviously, at the moment, people will tend to go to credit bureaus for that same credit score. Do we see this as the end of credit bureaus? Probably not for a while. Perhaps we'll see. But we see it as really an enhancement, something that is complementary to the credit bureaus. So somebody who is working both in the, let's say, the legacy, the traditional financial environment, they will have they could have that score, but also somebody who at the same time is very active in blockchain and crypto. They will also have a score there, and we will look to really take that 360-degree perspective and give them a single score that represents their full financial situation, and be able to deliver that to the lender with consent to enable that individual to take credit. And so that's where we're working. So it will be, to answer the question, it's really a complementary service, and will be, but particularly for younger people or people more active, it will give them an opportunity that they perhaps don't have today. Okay, we're good. And
So Paul has also have a presentation about this project, and he will now present it. Okay.
so, I'm going to start by introducing you to somebody. This is Ali. Say hi, Ali. Thank you. So he's a lovely guy. He's a professional. He's one of the first people I met. He's a programmer. He's in his early 30s. He's deeply into blockchain. He's got a good. He earns a lot of money and good financial situation. And because he is so focused on blockchain, he doesn't have any footprint in the traditional banking environment. No bank account, no credit cards, no mortgage. So there's nothing there. All his financial behavior and situation is in blockchain. And that's how he likes to work, and that's where he feels comfortable. However, he's got a little bit of a headache, does Ali? And when he wants to become a director of a company, people ask him for his credit score. When he wants to rent a house, in many countries he will need a credit score. If he wants to rent a car, you see Ali's got very high tastes in cars for rental. When he wants to rent his sports car, he needs a credit score. And of course, if he wants to borrow money, he needs a credit score. So this is giving him a little bit of a headache at the moment. And because the ecosystem is built on the basis where, which is true and has been true for a long time, people have their banking and their finances in traditional banking organizations. So as I mentioned, what we want to do is build a score on the blockchain transactions and behavior in a similar sort of way that you would build a traditional credit score. And then we can take a credit score from a credit bureau. So if individuals have activity in both sides, we can bring that together into a miracle score. And so that would give and ensure that everybody has access to a credit score. But not only that, we're also using a wider set of data to be able to make more accurate and better credit scores. And so really meeting what the diverse situation, which is the reality today, and becoming more so, and certainly will be for many more people the reality of tomorrow. So then, with consent, we can provide that perspective across the whole of the financial spectrum. And in some ways, this is an ongoing story that is starting, when we look at making assessment of credit and access to credit. Over time, we started with just in credit card data in the 70s and 80s and 90s. Then we started developing credit bureaus. I was involved in really taking credit bureaus to a lot of countries that 20 years didn't have credit bureaus, and now most countries will have a credit bureau. Recently, more data, other data got digitalized. We added utility data, open banking, which is the access to current account and transactions account. And then in some countries where they jumped straight to mobile wallets, we incorporated mobile wallet data in the assessment of credit to give a greater access to credit. We take an example there. If you look at somewhere like, for example, Kenya, which is very advanced in mobile wallets, we went from less than 10% to 50, 60% of people who have had access to formal credit in recent years. And so this, again, for people who perhaps don't have any footprints on all those, as we mentioned, someone like Ali, it's important that we have the blockchain data as well as part of that score. Also for people who are perhaps not as extreme as Ali, but who have a diverse portfolio, we can combine these multiple data, digital data sources to really give a full picture. And we believe probably the first place that it will be necessary, because obviously a lot of people are making digital transactions, is in buy now, pay later. So when you make a purchase, you may want to spread those payments over 3 payments, 3 installments, to really to make it easier for you to manage your money. So it's a form of short-term credit. And if we look, it's a massive business. A huge opportunity, is very growing. Recently, Klarna went and through their IPO process. They're currently valued at something like $15 billion. There were $38 billion of payment transactions over in 2024 just in Klarna, and they are only a part of the market. So it's a huge business, but we feel that it could be enhanced. Particularly, it's an area and a part of credit that is often used by younger people, and those younger people like Ali who have a large amount of their financial activity on the blockchain will not have access to this unless they do it in a collateralized ways and collateralize their bitcoins, which is something that's quite frequent at the moment. But we want to make it unsecured in the same way that you would if you were working with Klarna and going into a big department store or making a purchase online on a website and use Klarna's opportunity for buy now, pay later. So this is our once we have the score, this will be our next step to really provide buy now, pay later using the Miracle Score. And so with that, we can put a smile back on Ali's face and so remove one of his headaches. So this is one area, so thank you very much. I think we'll take questions later.
We can take the questions now.
Okay.
Fine.
Any particular questions do you wanted to ask now? Hi.
Could you give microphone?
If it's a difficult question, please help me.
It's coming.
Hi.
Hi.
One of the problems in the blockchain space is the Oracle problem. That is getting real life data from the clouds. Now, how will Miracle Score solve the problem of people manipulating their scores, like how they have in the traditional credit score? Some people manipulate their credit score. So what is the backlog or the backtesting that Ali's scores will be very, very accurate or close to accurate?
Sure. So this is why, partly why I mentioned at the start, we're going to go through a number of iterations. We will build an initial score which will be statistical based on data of people's activities and their likelihood of paying credit. So we're looking at that actual data in the real world of historical cases. And then we will go through a huge numbers of iterations. So when we launch the lending, we'll do it in small batches to make sure and identify any weaknesses, such as you mentioned, where people might be able to manipulate. The other thing is particularly perhaps there is in the, when we look at traditional credit scores, there's a lot more knowledge about perhaps some of the factors. So for a while, we will also be guarding secret what are the key factors, and so we make it harder to manipulate. We'll also be looking over a long term of the transactions, and so manipulating a short term is not going to have a huge impact over the score. So it would need I guess a large long-term fraud to be able to manipulate things over the long term. So those are some of the aspects that we will be looking at, and then over time each iteration will improve the model. We will be looking at potential losses and frauds and trying, because we will keep it small scale as we do the proof of concept, and then roll it out on a larger scale. Does that answer your question? Sorry, the microphone.
The microphone.
So Miracle Score will be on the L2 space, not L1 space.
Say it again?
L2, not
Yeah.
L1.
Yeah.
Any more questions? There's a question over there.
He's young.
No, the lady. Sorry. Okay. Later. Could you take the microphone? Sorry.
So in terms of data collection, is this only referring to financial data or behavioral data as well?
So initially we'll be working on the financial data. I guess there's some behavior in there in the way that you are using your transactions and the frequency, but it's all financial. It's your financial behavior. It won't be, I guess, when you're saying behavior, you're referring to?
Like spending patterns.
Yeah, there will be spending, it's transaction basis. We'll have spending patterns within as part of that process.
Okay.
Yeah, could you pass the microphone to the gentleman?
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Wisdom. So I just have a question because last year I co-founded a company that was solving a problem, but this is specifically for the African community.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So our idea was to digitalize access to funding for businesses.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine this world where businesses come together like a pool, coming
Yep.
together to combine their funds and then giving it to probably one business at the end of the month, and then
Mm-hmm.
you do that like in a cycle and it completes. So we also tried to initiate a credit score system, and it's wonderful to hear what Miracle Score is doing. So my question is, the issue we're facing initially was the adoption of this idea. So when it comes to, okay, let's say I walk into a store and I say, okay, look at my credit scores. Like, I mean, what is Miracle Score's like roadmap to getting adopted globally, or maybe let's say in particular in the African community?
Okay. Let me start with, I think the two questions there. One is about how to access it. So individuals will be able to see their own score, but also we would, in the way it would be used, we would work with retailers who would be, as you went in and making your purchase, we would have the relationship with the retailers. So then the retailers would on your consent, score that person who's at the point of sale, and then they would, make the the sort of system would have made the decision on how much credit could be made available to any individual. Secondly, one of the things that we've seen with credit data in general is the way that you have your activities is to do with people as much as it is to do with markets, particularly for anything that has a similar sort of function. When if we're looking at crypto, it has a similar sort of function in term wherever you go, it's universal. So what we would expect is the type of behavior would be fairly consistent across markets. And so it would be, we would see that the models would be, relatively similar across markets. What we might need to do is adopt small changes if we were looking at different types of lending. So if we're looking at $200 buy now, pay later compared to a $10,000 loan, there we would probably see different models, as we do with in the example of credit today in using banking information. So you have to differentiate depending on the product rather than the market in many cases.
Thank you so much. So your idea is that you partner, same person.
Okay.
So the idea is that you partner with businesses individually so that they can accept a Miracle Score.
Yes, but we would also look to partner with point of sale that potentially are more global, and so then that accelerates the acceptance across multiple markets. Or we may, or we may be looking to at some point to partner with credit bureaus who may already be within the ecosystem, and so we will add in the Miracle Score to enhance that decisioning functionality that's in there.
Any more questions? Yeah. Could you provide
Perhaps we should
microphone?
Last one.
Yeah, last question. Sure.
Hello. So,
Hi.
Is there like a general algorithm or formula to counter the changing market, as it's been changing a lot for the past few years?
Yeah. I don't think. So yeah. So it's a good. That's a really good question. So what we will see in when as we're looking at the data, what we're seeing is that obviously even at the moment you have different levels of activity. You will have some individuals who've got very little activity, and some people have got a lot of activity. What I expect is that we'll see a migration from low activity to high activity, or no activity to high activity. And so already within the data, we will be able to identify those with high activity, and in a way use that knowledge for a wider audience as more people come into the high activity segment of the population. There will be, obviously, then there are new products, new changes that we will need to review and adapt the model as we see changes in the market to incorporate any new functionality or ways in which people are using the payment or other functions available.
Thank you.
Thank you for the questions. Thank you for the great presentation, Paul. So Douglas, MetaTerra recently announced discussions to bring Miracle Pay into the new international airport of Bucharest in Romania, a major step toward real-world crypto payments. Could you tell us a bit more about how this project came about and what makes it a significant milestone for MetaTerra and Miracle's broader vision? And lastly, from your Wall Street background and investment experience, what's driving traditional finance to take a growing interest in blockchain and emerging crypto payments landscape? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So the Bucharest airport kind of came to me because we were investing in the region, and one of those regions we put up a factory, and I came to know some of the businessmen there, and that airport's coming into being because of necessity. There's growth, and there's going to be a lot of growth, not only in that country, but in this region in general. About $2 trillion is coming this direction for maybe rebuild and revitalization post-war in Ukraine, for example. And we know that that's happening, and so for that reason, we came to the region to try and be on the ground and be ahead of the game and ready for this, to take advantage of this kind of growth. And once I got involved on the board of directors, they put in my hands the responsibility for corporate finance and strategy. And Miracle, I was getting involved with Metaterra at the same time, and I realized that they had tools that could be implemented from the ground up in this massive project. And with an airport, of course, comes the supporting city that the airport needs. And so we're doing an airport, we're doing a canal from Bucharest to the Danube, which will give that city access to the Black Sea. And there will be a city that supports all of that. And we're going to be able to take the Metaterra technologies and implement them in every aspect of that city and the airport. So it's very exciting, and it's very fortuitous that we were able to marry the two opportunities. With regard to blockchain, there have been points in history where you can see massive impact from technology. Henry Ford made the Model T, which gave transportation for the common man, and it had a huge impact on society, on production, on quality of life. You had a transistor, then you had a computer, then you had a laptop, then you had internet. All these things had massive positive impacts on the world. And blockchain is exactly the same thing. That is happening now. And I think the most exciting part of it is a brass ring that Wall Street has looked at for many, many years and has never been able to grasp. And that is banking the unbanked. There's billions of people on this planet that don't have access to credit, don't have access to just basic banking, which could change their lives and help their families. And so that's very exciting. It's coming into being now. And if you're in a company that's got the software and technology to spread that, then you're going to be in a very good place for a multiple on investment and for making a great impact on society and people.
Questions? Sorry. Any questions for Douglas?
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
So, what's the feeling in Wall Street about investment in this technology at the moment, and has that changed over time?
I'm not trying to brag, but I had one of the hottest performing stocks on the lower board of NASDAQ in 2020. And the reaction that I had to that was fear and terror because I didn't understand it. We developed a options and derivatives trading software for crypto because I noticed crypto was hot, it was trading, but they didn't have that tool. So I thought, I wonder if people would even use this if we put it together. And believe me, it wasn't a masterpiece of technology. It was off-the-shelf stuff that we slapped together and put out there. And I took the company public on the lower board of NASDAQ. And it was very difficult to do that because the SEC was very sensitive to crypto. And when I got it done, I needed to take a break because I've been working on it so hard. I took a flight to Paris. When I landed, my office called and said, "What are you doing to the stock?" And I said, "What do you mean?" I took the stock out at $1.25, and by the time I'd landed in Paris, they said, "The stock's at 20." And I thought, well, it's nothing. So of course it's going to fall, to 20 cents. It'll go back up. It's okay. They said, no, you don't understand. It's at $20. I was like, what? How's that possible? The next day it went up again. It went up again. It went up to $67. This is a company with no revenue, nothing. And I thought I was going to go to jail. I was really concerned about it. I ordered my staff, don't sell any stock, don't do anything. And so we didn't. And, it calmed down, it came down. But it was a lesson to us of the demand and the interest in this sector. And so the answer is there's still a few people that are concerned about it. It's new, But as I said, by 2030, we're looking at this market approaching $1 trillion in transaction. So it cannot be ignored. Now is when we've got to get in. We've got to get in with the right technology, and I just don't see how we don't win by doing that.
Thank you, Douglas. Any questions from the audience? Yeah, if you can provide the microphone to the gentleman. Yeah.
Hello, good morning, and I'm really honored to be here today on this because I have a group, actually a trading group, and it's called TruePath. One of our things that we do is also spread awareness and education. So my question is there any way we can help in the education and awareness part? Can we take a part of this thing?
Yeah, spreading the word and asking your schools and community to help spread this technology and knowledge. And your knowledge is extremely high in this sector, but there's so many people out there like me, for example, that need to be better educated at it. So I would encourage you to do that. And I think the universities are starting to implement more and more courses in this vein, and I encourage them to do that because it's the future. And as I said, it's going to be very, very positive to impact people's quality of life around the world by being able to reach them and get them financial tools that can help their lives.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we may have one last question. Okay. To the gentleman in the front seat.
Thank you so much, Douglas. Really appreciate. So I want to ask a question. What do you say to critics on the crypto space that says we're approaching the financial bubble? There's a lot of fear in the market. There's a lot of fear when it comes to the term crypto. So what do you say to them to probably not convince them, but just to reassure them that, oh, this is transparent, this is safe, this is not like the past financial bubbles that we had that collapsed the economy.
Yeah, I think that you mentioned transparency. The ledger, it's a wonderful tool that can be used to great advantage. We were talking, the senator and I were talking about a friend of his who is the president of El Salvador. And that president was able to fix his country, which had, I think, the highest murder rate in the world, out of control crime. And now it's one of the best and safest countries on the planet. And he credits it to the blockchain and crypto. His national currency is pegged to crypto. And why is that important? It's important because it's got a ledger, it's got transparency, and we're seeing this in a lot of different places. Estonia, if you're paying your utility bill, phone bill, anything like that, it's all crypto, and its efficiency, it cleans the environment from bad actors in a lot of ways. So, and in terms of investment, the growth is like 70% year over year. And as I said, by 2030, we're going to be approaching $1 trillion. There's nothing out there that has that kind of growth far into the future. And banking the unbanked, now you've got billions and billions of people that were ignored and set aside that now are going to really join society, financial society. So I see huge growth, and as I said, if you've got the right technology, then you're going to ride it. And I'm a firm believer that Mediterra is going to be a huge multiple, huge investment, and we're all in on it. And the guys that I've asked to come to the table to support this company are the smartest in the world. John Bayer, you can look at the birth of cell phones with this guy. You can look at the birth of Google with this guy. You can look at the birth of streaming with this guy. No Netflix without John. Another friend of mine that's not here today but has joined our board of advisors, Stephen Norris. Steve led Marriott Hotel Group and then became co-founder of the Carlyle Group, $600 billion fund. Now, how do you get a guy who co-founds Carlyle to come to a little company that's in the middle of Cyprus here? It's because it's the right technology at the right time, and it's a bullseye. And so we're very excited about it. And again, not only just on the financial profits that we can probably, that we see and will realize, but also the impact, the positive impact it will have on people.
Thank you, Douglas. And thank you for the insights. And now we continue with John. John, given your experience in building real-world applications, blockchain applications aimed at reducing intermediaries and improving transparency, what do you see as the biggest practical challenges still preventing those ideas from becoming mainstream in finance? And lastly, based on your experience again in developing real-world blockchain applications, from your perspective, where have you seen this transition from theory to real, practical use that works best, perhaps a case that really shows blockchain's potential beyond speculation?
Yeah, the In terms of the impediments to growth of blockchain, particularly in the world of financial, I mean, I would say it probably comes down to resistance to change, of legacy players, and the regulatory environment have not been supportive. Feedback in here. If you think about the world of traditional finance, you have these money center banks, and the large, institutional trading organizations that have a legacy system and a system, and they're very, very resistant to changing anything that happens. Lots of fintechs, that are around the edge, that are trying to, bite into little pieces of it, but it's not the core, of the big piece. What has happened, and I've seen in the last year, relative to what Doug was saying, is whereas it's clear, pundits have been talking about how the transparency, the security, the efficiencies and cost benefits, of blockchain is obviously, game changing for finance, but they haven't. A year ago, if you talk to one of the big money center guys in New York or Wall Street, or London, they would say, yeah, I think it's kind of a crazy thing. I think it's it's an idea. It's a science fair project. It's not it's not something real. Whereas maybe 6 months ago they were saying, maybe I'm thinking about it more. And today they're saying, how do I implement? I mean, it has been an immense change just in the course of a year. And I think it comes down to a couple things. Regulatory has changed dramatically. The U.S. has had, a sea change in terms of regulatory. The EU has, there's something known as the Genius Act that created, the possibilities to do stable coins that have been, held out of traditional finance. Gosh, in the U.S., you weren't allowed as a financial institution to touch a public blockchain, and the comptroller of the currency has recently said now you can. So this is this is incredible. When you think about one of these big money center banks, the back room, the IT of them, it runs on COBOL. I mean, COBOL is a 1960s, technology. I mean, it's like it's dinosaur, and they have these beautiful, web applications that are sitting out there. But when you go through it, it's a centralized, old school, IT system that's running, and to be able to run a blockchain and to add blockchain to that makes a dramatic difference and a very large, change to it. We are. I've been spending quite a bit of time on how do you create, relative to what Paul and Connor are doing in terms of credit for an individual, individual credits that you can. We are doing something that we think is complementary, and helpful. That's basically sort of taking real-world assets, tokenizing them in large blocks, and having a continuously audited set of assets that's tokenized that you can use not as an individual credit score, but as a sort of institutional grade, capability to have something that's behind it. All of a sudden, in answer to your question of what's happening now, that's doing something that's as I say, J.P. Morgan just came out with something. All of a sudden now, banks are allowed to take deposits and put them, with blockchain-based systems. J.P. Morgan has a thing called JPMD, I think, that is it is a fiat-backed. It's not like Circle or Tether with backed by Treasury bills or backed by gold or something. Whatever. It's backed by actual fiat, by actual funds, and it's a deposit. It's a tokenized deposit, and that is that's a giant sea change. That you have big banks that are actually looking at doing things. Citibank has I can't remember the name of it, but it's a token credit for cash project that they're doing similarly, And so what the opportunity is, and as I said, we're working on trying to create these tokens that are that are a fungible, audited, capability for project finance and for credit for large financial transactions in an institutional base. So the opportunity here, we hope for what we're doing, and most importantly for what Metaterra and are doing, is if you think about it, so you've got this big, this multi-billion, trillion-dollar market that's out there that has been resistant to this technology. All of a sudden is now embracing it, but these guys are not developers. I mean, the guy that works at J.P. Morgan is not a developer. He's they're financial guys, and they're going to now say, I've got to move, I've got to do something, I've got to move. And so ultimately, what's going to happen is they're going to make a buy versus build decision, and the folks like we all hopefully that are sitting here have an opportunity to create something that should create immense multiples of value, and quite exciting. So thank you.
Thank you, John. Any questions for John? Yeah, could you provide the microphone to the gentleman over there?
Okay, thank you very much. The beauty of the blockchain is decentralization. And we've seen that over the last years, the big money banks, the institutions have been coming into the blockchain space. Looking at the panel, there is over a century of experience. In your own experience, do you think this inflow of the BlackRocks, JP Morgan, is going to defeat the whole idea of a decentralized finance?
Well, yeah, that's a great question. As you have any sort of new revolutionary technology, you have guys that fight it, and historical legacy folks are not going to want to give up control. I mean, that's by nature, and a decentralized network does that. So that's good. For the general host, may not be great for the institution, the individual institutions. So you're going to have fight, to do that. And in fact, what's happening is some of these efforts that I'm seeing happen, in New York and in London and wherever, you have people that are tokenizing, money market funds, and they're tokenizing, financial instruments, and they're tokenizing these. But are they truly a decentralized token, or is it what's known as a wrap, and rather than being a native token that has its individual value down to the token level, they're kind of creating a wrap around it, and then they still have a centralized piece. That they have a centralized ledger somewhere, that's looking at that. And so ultimately the goal is to get rid of that, to do it. But as you say, we expect some of these institutions to fight that, but we see the movement quickly. The true value of this, and the magic of it, is to get rid of any central authority, and so that's the goal of doing it. And we believe that if you create applications like this that are investment grade, that are proven to have audited things behind them, that run professionally, these large financial institutions will say, okay, I'll now use that. I'll take the leap of faith to do that. It's a leap of faith for us to hope that they will, but I believe they will. So.
Thank you. We can have a couple of more questions. Thank you, John. Hakan, Northern Cyprus is increasingly being discussed as a potential hub for blockchain and fintech innovation. And from your perspective, what makes Northern Cyprus attractive for this kind of ecosystem, fintech and blockchain? And how do you see young people here engaging with these new technologies? And lastly, from your perspective, what's the most critical factor for blockchain-based payment systems to move from innovation to real-world adoption in this region? Thank you.
Well, welcome everyone. I'll get to North Cyprus, but I want to go through what blockchain, what Web3 really is, and what it did to my life. So Web 1, you know, is just the first web we saw. It's just a landing page. And Web 2 was us interacting with a web page. And Web 3 was ownership. So it brought ownership. So I heard you guys talking about transparency and how secure it is. Well, blockchain Web3 is as transparent as you can get. It's ownership, it's validating and moving ownership from one wallet to another. So that's what Web3 is. And what it did to my life and how it connects to North Cyprus, well, living on an island with embargo gets you to be creative in life. You know, you need to find ways of moving and doing things different than people in the EU or the States. You can do as much as you want, and you will always be blocked. There will be a bottleneck somewhere. Blockchain has the power to break any embargo. Blockchain allows you to build an ecosystem that you can live in a country of embargo, but invite countries that are at their most democratic and most known position. It allows you to bring them into your ecosystem and create something for them. That's what blockchain does, and that's what it did to me. So, you know, us at Metaterra, we've been working on an ecosystem for the last 8 years. And we now have an ecosystem that has payment in it, allowing people to pay with crypto. Now, another question that I heard was, how big could it get? And what's the real trigger of shift from that Web 2 to Web 3 world? I think it's credit, because, you know, there's a certain growth of crypto adoption every year. People are getting used to using crypto, but there's still a lot of people that are not touching crypto. Credit is the key to allow them to touch crypto. Once credit comes into crypto, they don't have to be in the crypto, you know, they don't have to be crypto friendly. Credit will trigger their crypto adoption, and that's how I see the growth of crypto. And yeah, that's who Metaterra is. That's where North Cyprus has the opportunity to take this to NASDAQ. And thank you for being here.
Thank you, Hakan. Any questions? Yeah, could you provide a microphone to the gentleman? Could you help the gentleman with the microphone? Oh, it's working. Okay.
Yes, thank you. How can blockchain move beyond finance to make global education funding truly transparent and accessible, especially for students?
Well, it's not actually blockchain doing that. I think you're talking about an educational funding through the blockchain ecosystem, if I'm understanding the question correct.
Yes.
Well, I mean, I'll give an example from Metaterra. We've built a crypto payment gateway which is called Miracle Pay. We're currently working on the credit side of this, which could finance education, it could finance a car, it could finance, a meal. So once we've built that score and that score is enhanced and the limits of that score really matures, and I'm forecasting maybe 1.5 to 2 years, crypto, blockchain will get to that point that will also fund education. That's how I see it.
Thank you. We can have a couple of more questions. There are many questions.
I guess they were all waiting for me.
I guess so.
Good morning. So my question will be, what's the real trigger or key factor that will shift the world from Web 2 to Web 3?
Well, credit. But there's many things, it's not only credit. The adoption from Web 2 to Web 3 is growing significantly at the moment anyway. But as I said, I truly believe that the big shift is going to be credit, and the speed of credit adoption will have a massive impact on the shift from Web 2 to Web 3. That's how I see it.
Thank you. Would you provide the microphone to the lady at the back with the white shirt?
I have to excuse myself. I have a flight that I have to catch. But I wanted to thank all of you very much for this wonderful reception, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you, Douglas, for joining today and for your great insights. Please go ahead with the question.
Yes, thank you. My question is about the stakeholders in the integration of blockchain. Looking at Cyprus with the political geographic of it and things that are going on, what are the perception and how is Meta-Terra coming in with the innovation and the strategies in the blockchain within the island?
So, can you expand the question a bit more? What do you mean by the adaptation to the island? You mean
the payment system? Looking at that, you talked about the embargoes that you can see and
Yes.
how the isolation, the political things. There's so many currencies and things. What is the integration or the perception within the stakeholders looking at in the education or in the tourism industry? How do the stakeholders seeing the blockchain or the integration of blockchain within the system?
Oh, for Cyprus, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, the first integration adoption on the island is really allowing people to get to crypto, because, going back to the embargo, being a Turkish citizen, you cannot even KYC yourself and register to a global exchange. It's not possible. So with Meta-Terra, the first thing that we did, we allowed a Turkish citizen to be able to register to a central exchange and do transactions, which has never been done before. So that allowed the country and the country's citizens to break out and get to blockchain. A second integration is us bringing crypto payment acceptance to merchants, and our third will be bringing in credit and allowing international funds to come into the country that has never been done before. That's the phases we're going through.
Well, part of the process is the education, the miracle stores, and in terms of that education process as well, through the miracle stores.
Well, the stores are there for more than 2 or 3 reasons. One, we have stores not only in Cyprus, but in also countries like Holland and Germany and Berlin and Amsterdam. And the reason of having stores are, one, to show that you're legally in that territory, but 2 is to be able to touch the consumer and being able to interact and educate them and lead them for that adoption that you talked about. So that's the stores. We're also looking into having a crypto TV channel that is a project that we're looking on, and that will be a crypto education-based TV channel to allow people to understand and really break their barriers in front of blockchain and get to Web3.
We can have one more last question. Actually, you asked before, so the gentleman at the back, could you provide microphone? Thank you.
How can real-world tokenized assets that are based in Northern Cyprus list on exchanges, given the embargoes, given the lack of international recognition?
Well, this is a great question, and it's one of the hottest things on crypto, especially in the last 12 months. So, real-world asset-backed tokenization is what a lot of countries are after at the moment, and it's all about designing the real regulation around it, the structure around it. We're also, as Metaterra, looking into some real-world asset tokenizations, like Douglas mentioned, potentially an airport and some real estate. Delaware is where a lot of companies now are setting up a structure, especially the Gulf and Dubai is into real-world asset-backed tokenization, and they're doing it through companies structured in Delaware. That's what we're doing as well. And once we see that structure working, it doesn't matter if it's in Dubai or it's in North Cyprus. And, that could be something very big for the island and breaking all those barriers and bringing in international fund.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hakan, for the great insights.
Thank you.
So, Senator, would you like to do the speech from here again? But I have to first ask the questions, as you know. Mexico has seen a great interest in blockchain technologies, from fintech and remittance platforms to government transparency, even food traceability pilots. So, yet many projects remain in early or experimental stages. In your view, what will be the key catalyst that moves blockchain to real adoption in Mexico? This could be regulation, private sector investment, or public trust. And lastly, you have worked extensively in both public projects and private ventures. From your perspective, what's the key to building stronger collaboration between governments and private innovators? Thank you.
Wow, that's hello everyone again. I'll start by answering the first question he mentioned. I guess I heard all the speakers, they're all my friends. They all spoke very well. They transmitted a very strong message. And just one comment for what John said, I think recapping what he said, is staying ahead of the curve. That's a very simple terminology that everyone can understand. I would like to let you know as well, I'm not a technology guy. I'm not a techie, as you call him. I'm learning as I go along. I come from a manufacturing family, so my area of expertise is totally on the other side of technological things. But it caught my eye from this invitation for what it's being developed, as I've said in the beginning, by Metaterra and Mr. Hakan. And that technology, part of it, has many uses. I was invited here to talk mainly about blockchain and the applications and its uses in Mexico. So I have the report prepared for that. I'll just browse through that and answer the question. And just if anybody would like to get a hold of this report, if there's interest of any kind, he would have it. He could share that with you. It's an up-to-date report on, again, I have homework to do to go back and try to see how we can implement the next growth extension for Metaterra in the other side of this continent. As you know, there are very many potential uses and applications for blockchain. In Mexico, as we speak, it's being used as far as supply chain solutions for companies that produce products, exporting them to the US. It's being used in the food and for safety applications as well. That would be agricultural. The one that caught my eye would be the e-government transparency, which I'm involved with, and that's digitalizing all the people that we have in Mexico, because there was a very strong message in Mexico. We're 140, it's a country of 140 million people. Out of that, 80 million people do not have a bank account. You heard correct. 80 million people do not have a bank account. I think that's a huge market to tap into. There's many reasons why that's how it is. Something that we've been fighting to change. I know people would say, well, it's so easy to go to a bank and just get a loan or invest my money. No, that's not the way it works. Sometimes people do not know what to do. That's part of the education that I was talking about. And also, it's being implemented in the automotive and aerospace sector in Mexico. Is a huge producer of jet engines and everything that has to do with automotive. My family started a trucking company, the biggest one in Mexico and the biggest one in the world, which is Kenworth Trucking Company. Kenworth produces Peterbilt, produces DAF trucks, and competes against Mercedes and Scania. That's where I come from, manufacturing area. But at the end of the day, to answer the question on the challenges and the barriers we still need to adopt, there's an underdeveloped legal framework still in my country that needs to be addressed in the Senate and in Congress. The regulations are still being developed and remain very limited, especially when it comes to public government. Also, scalability and cost is very important in implementing blockchain, but that could be, as you know, very expensive to do so. Particularly if you need a network with many nodes, permissions, and a strong security, it's an expensive system to develop. Interoperability and standardization. Different systems use their own standards. Common rules are essential if suppliers, governments, and businesses are to work together effectively. Very difficult to accomplish. Change management and training. This is very important. Many companies are not yet familiar with the technology or lack of training for their staff. Organizational challenges can also be challenging. And the last one that we have would be an uneven digital infrastructure in rural areas. That's very important. Mexico, even though it's a big country, has many rural areas in places that do not have access to the internet. That's one of the factors that we still need to work on in our country. Also, that would take you to very tough to implement the systems that require the connectivity, the hardware, and the resources. Again, based on what I learned these couple of days that I've been in your country, which, by the way, you have a beautiful country, and I invite you all to go to Mexico, my country, one day and see opportunities that we also have that we can interlink and share. And I think that's one of the reasons I'm here, to take back what I saw and try to see how we can implement either all of it, maybe part of it. At the end of the day, I think the loan program they have, I'm familiar with. I belong to a common denomination which is called BRICS. That's Brazil, Russia, India, and China. They're developing, as we speak, in beta stages, payment system that would surpass SWIFT, challenging the US in a sense. There has been a lot of reluctancy in it to be performed because it's going to be done through each country's currency, and that makes it a little bit hard as far as the payment system and the implementation. But at the end of the day, I beg you to support. This is not a sales pitch. Maybe some part of some of the speakers, it sounded like a sales pitch in alley, which is fine. At the end of the day, this technology is here to stay. And if we support companies and people and entrepreneurs as the ones you have here in the audience, in the panel, you can become very strong and stronger in support and learn through their process, and maybe one day even staying ahead of the curve, do something different, like Mr. Hakan said, which is, congratulations, what you said. It has never been done. It takes guts to say something like that. It takes courage. And most of all, it's a big responsibility on his part. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me. And I appreciate very much coming back. Thank you.
Would you like to take some questions?
If there's questions, there's so much information. It's so hard to just for myself to go into something because it was prepared for me, as you know. So I try to read it and understand it the best I could. But there's so many applications. There's even case studies. There's a case study that I would love to share with you. If we have the time.
Yeah, sure. Please go ahead.
The case study that for me was very, in a sense, important because it outlines the problem, it outlines the opportunity, and the solution that blockchain brings. And this is just a simple case study. And the case study is based on our government implementing, as I said, digital identity. We're doing so as we speak. Documents are going to be authenticated, and there's going to be a sealing pilot. What's the problem on doing something like that in a country like ours? The need for verifying records and advanced signatures and greater transparency in public documents, such as minutes and reports. The public sector aims to prevent fraud and strengthen the public trust. That's the bottom line why we're doing that. But at the end of the day, that's a problem and an opportunity. And what will be the solution? The solution we're basing it on, it's document sealing and verification. The local government locks hashes of public documents on a permissible blockchain or a public one for an added verifiability, pardon my English, and provides a public verification tool allowing any citizen to check the document the hash has in its PDF or signed version. Meaning the governments will have records of everyone at the end of the day, but that's one way that we're implementing in order to know every citizen that we have and what he does for a reason that would be having more control, in a sense, on our end, and as well protecting them on the fraud side and a lot of other things that happen, as we all know, forging signatures, hacking, and many other areas. So it's very interesting at the end of the day. Like I said, I'm learning as I go along. I'm a fast learner. So at the end of the day, we'll try to see how, like I told Mr. President, which he left, let's try to see what else we could accomplish with this company based in Cyprus, headed by the person you have in front of you and his staff, which some of them are here as we speak, which is a great staff. I met them all, I think, very knowledgeable, and they follow the leader. I told as a joke, Akana, they're your disciples. You're like Jesus or something of that sort. Sorry, no religious comment in any way, but at the end of the day, they're your followers, and you have a great duty to them. You have a question.
When John spoke, he talked about there had been a leap forward because of so the change in regulation and the actions of the government in the US. I guess as a representative from the political, thinking from your political role, how fast do you think Mexico and the government in Mexico, from a political point, are moving and trying to replicate some of the changes that perhaps have happened in the US?
Well, as you know, my country is very similar to yours in many ways, the government functions. So I think it will take a sit down with a lot of coffee and many days inside a room making concessions. Concessions is the right word to use. That's how things are done. Because there's infighting between political parties. And as you know, the government, the one we pay taxes to, is the uncomfortable partner in every business. And they get along pretty well because they don't have a say in it, but they sure collect at the end of the year. So I think that's one of the things as well. The governments somehow are not too open to this type of new technology, because they still have to wrap around some things, meaning they want a foothold in, let's say, a transaction you make, just like you do in Wall Street, right? You buy it at $125 and you sell it at $60. That's a capital gain. So I think that the same will work. The only thing that I understood from the panelists is very simple. We have a traditional banking system, the same in every country. A bank, right? And everybody does the same thing, those who have the meaning to do so. They're just exchanging an asset, which is paper asset, which is worthless if it's not backed by something at the end of the day. So just replicate. They're doing the same thing, the same with a new technology based on an app, based on where the future is going, but you can just interchange. And that's how I see it in a simple term, because I'm a very simple person, and exchanging dollars or paper pesos for crypto, which is a digital asset currency. And I understand that too many people, like I myself, have doubts if that's gonna keep going on, what is the value, what is it pegged to. But they mentioned something very important. Mr. Nayib Bukele, the president of El Salvador, is a friend of mine. He's in his second term. He came to a country that was devastated. It was the worst country in the world as far as crime. He turned it around. A lot of people are against that, especially human rights people. But if you see it through his eyes, if somebody does some bad to you, it's not revenge. It's just making things clear. And he also took the challenge of changing the banking system, the currency, and having a balanced budget, which had never been done. Mexico does not have a balanced budget. The U.S. does not. That's why they're right now in not working. The government has a shutdown. But for them, it's very simple. I have a ceiling, I have a cap, and keep raising it. In Mexico, we don't have that. We ask for loans. And that will be a great tool to implement for government officials, for government personnel, but needs work. Why it needs work? Because there's a lot of people that do not want that to happen because you're touching their interest, like the banks. But at the end of the day, trust me, it has a lot of power if you're able to see a little bit further ahead in years. That's where everything is going. So it's better to be on the train that has left the station. It's not on the station anymore, and it's going really fast. faster than what I could see. That's why when I received that 4 days that I flew here, me, even myself, was not aware of at least half of what is here. That fast is going. They're reporting we have 160 cryptocurrency ATMs. I haven't seen one. And I know they're there. But again, it needs more attention. It needs more publicity. But it's getting there. And we all need to work to make that happen. It's not, again, a sales pitch. No, it's the future.
Thank you, Senator. So this is the end of our panel discussion. I would like to thank to all our distinguished speakers and to the audience. I believe it was a fruitful panel discussion. Thank you for being here. You can use this. I don't know what this is, by the way, sorry. You can scan the QR code to claim your reward today. Good luck.